Oh, you know, another week. We had some fun weather again. We had warm weather, rainy weather. Today it's Sunday, and I'm looking outside. It's pretty gross out. You know, I'll tell you what. I posted it on Instagram yesterday. I don't mind when the weatherman's wrong once in a while, especially the last few days. I'll tell you what. It was supposed to rain all day Friday, all day Saturday, and if you were out Friday and Saturday, I'm pretty sure you knew it was beautiful out. Fish were snapping, weather was great. So here's something I'm going to tell you that maybe your parents told you. Don't trust the weather. If you're going to go fishing and you plan to go fishing, go. Because oftentimes what I've seen, especially this year, is they've been wrong. At least in the metro, maybe we're lucky. Knock on wood, storms have missed us. They've gone around us. We've had just a little bit of a spit, especially in the last week or so. But so don't always trust the weather. Don't cancel fishing trips because you look at your phone and see that it might rain on Saturday. Still go fishing, plan for a day. And at least the last few days they've been wrong. Today, we got a little wet, I'll be honest. So it did rain a little bit today. Nothing major, just kind of a constant rain all day. So some things that have been working. Man, we've been continuing to find those fish in that transition period. I know I sound like a broken record, but these water temps cannot kick 71, 72, 73 degrees in the last week or so. It's been pretty consistent. We had some warm weather 2 weeks ago where it was in the upper 80s every day, and we got those water temps to skyrocket 12, 14 degrees. In the last week, 10 days, 2 weeks, it's been pretty consistent, low 70s. So these fish are kind of in that transitional period. The pike are still out deeper. They moved out. I've been guiding a lot of clients, and what I'll do sometimes is take a jig worm and pitch it out on the deep weed line while they're fishing that 8, 10, 11, 12 foot water. And what happens to me? Thump, I get whacked by a pike. So if you want to chase pike, I think they're cruising the weed lines pretty well right now, and you can cover water and catch them, whether it's with DT10 crankbait, whether it's with swim jig, spinnerbait, trolling covering water, jig and minnow hoping to catch whatever bites. There's some fish moving on the weed lines. The crappies are there too. I've seen lots of crappies on that outside weed line right now. That seems to be the best crappie bite. So outside weed line, you're catching your crappies, your pike, some bass moving out there, and then maybe a walleye or two if that's what you're targeting. So the weed line can produce some fish if you want to just catch something. I've been focusing more of a specific bass bite the last week or so. I've been on Lake Minnetonka quite a bit. I fished some North Metro lakes, a variety of lakes, and that pattern tends to be similar where that 6 to 12 foot range still seems to be key. We tried up shallower, didn't get bit a ton in 1, 2, 3, 4 feet of water. I think there's some fish probably swimming that zone depending on the lake, but we did better in that 6 to 12, more so 8 to 10. So boats sitting in that 12, 13, 14, 15 foot range and having them cast in a little more with the Ned rig, jig worm, finesse jig, swim bait. We even got some fish on chatterbaits, but that seems to be key. Like I said, when I turn the other direction just to cover water and I throw a jig or a jig worm out a little deeper, I'm getting bit. They're either smaller bass or Mr. and Mrs. Toothy Critter, the pike. They're all over the place. So some ways I'm catching these fish. I wanted to talk a little more gear specific stuff today than we have in the past. For starters, I talked about finesse jigs. You heard me say finesse jig. What does that mean? Now, I'm not talking a little thin wire hook and a small little plastic. That could be called finesse fishing. When I talk about a finesse jig, I'm talking about a smaller profile jig like you would fish for bass. This is actually called the finesse jig from All Terrain. And what makes it a finesse jig? Well, if you look at their standard AT rattling jig, it's going to have that larger profile head, stout hook, big weed guard, a lot more skirting material. It gives you a little better profile. That's going to be your workhorse jig. The finesse jig is going to be the same concept, but thinner wire hook, less weed guard. You can see a lot less skirt material, just giving them a smaller offering, a finesse approach. This is called the finesse jig. This is a great jig for fluorocarbon line if you're not going to put the hammer to them with that braid. Let's say you go through spots and you know there's fish and they're just not feeding aggressively and they're not picking up that other jig. You can come through with a smaller approach. This is also a great jig for a spinning rod. So I know most bass anglers or anglers in general will see these types of jigs and they go, you know, I'm not that great maybe with the bait caster. I'm learning to do that kind of stuff. Or, you know, I don't bass fish every day. I'll put a finesse jig on a lot of my clients' rods, spinning rods, as well as my kids, because you can cast it retrieve it easily, hop it through the milfoil, hop it through the jig, or through the gunk down there, pitch it around a dock, and that thin wire finesse hook almost sets itself. So you don't need to feel that bite well and give them the oomph like you like to see on TV. That finesse jig works great in a spinning rod. Put some 10-pound monofilament and cover water. You catch some big bass on these finesse jigs. I use the Texas Craw, peanut butter and jelly, blue and black. It comes in a lot of the famous colors you see from All Terrain. Try that finesse jig if you haven't already, and it's got that trailer lock guard on there. You can keep that plastic on there for a long time. And I tip that with a twister tail, maybe a little swim bait of some type, a craw bait. The pocket craw is a great one. I'll take a little bit off the tip for a flat surface, thread it on there. That works really well, that pocket craw. So finesse jigs, try a finesse jig. You can fish it, like I said, on a spinning rod and get out there and cover water. So if you want to try a different approach than a wacky rig or a jig worm, try a finesse jig. I've caught a lot of fish doing that. Speaking of wacky rigs, still something that's catching fish. Wacky rigs are not just designed for shallow water. A lot of anglers think if I get deeper than 4, 5, 6 feet, I better stop fishing a wacky rig. You know what? The anglers I had on my boat on Friday caught more fish on a weightless wacky rig in 8 to 10 feet of water than anything else we threw. Let it sit, let it sink all the way down. You watch that line move and set the hook. One thing I've been using the last couple of years is a bigger spinning reel. Probably not a secret to most anglers, but that 3000, even 4000 series Shimano, this is a 4000 series CI4, gets the line to come back to the reel faster. It also helps you on castability. So when you're casting these light wacky rigs, I can throw it a lot further with this larger arbor spool, and I can pick up line a lot better. So try those larger reels. I just got some 20-pound braid on here. Works great for wacky rig fishing. Kind of a do all-purpose rod. You could also use that same rod and put on that finesse jig if you wanted. So another lure that's catching a lot of fish is a swim jig. Not a swim bait, swim jig. You got a swim jig here, weed guard, same type of deal as that finesse jig, and I go to a lighter size, something a little lighter weight than you may throw before. This is just a 5/16. They make them up to ½ ounce, 3/8. They make bigger ones. This is a 5/16. And I like fishing this because I can put this again on a spinning rod for my clients. They can cast and reel this in. If they happen to let it sit, it just goes down and acts like a jig. The beauty of it is that it doesn't snag as much, and it does give you an aggressive approach. If you're gonna throw a spinnerbait or a chatterbait or, oh my gosh, a crankbait, you're gonna snag a lot of weeds. Clients get frustrated, anglers get frustrated. Where this, if you happen to stall for a bit in a pocket, it just goes down like a jig, but you can swim it back to the boat. Tip that with a twister tail, some kind of a minnow bait. These will catch fish, plain and simple. And again, they hit the bait hard, they may hit it soft. It kind of gives you a good variety of versatile bait to throw is that swim jig. And you'll see that I'm fishing chartreuse and white just because it just catches fish. Whether it's pike, whether it's bass, if I want to catch fish for clients and just have a good day, I'll tie this on a spinning rod for them. You know, 10, 12-pound monofilament or a 20-pound braid will get the job done. Cast and retrieve, great lures, that swim jig. Comes in a variety of colors. You have that chartreuse one, like I said, white and chartreuse. You can fish more of your natural colors, your blacks and blues. It comes in a variety of colors. Great way to catch fish. Next, I've been playing with the reel. If you're a musky angler, you've heard of the Shimano Tranx. It's probably the most popular reel on the market right now. It's hot, it's being trendy in the forums, people are talking about it, and it's a 400 series bait casting reel. Massive line pickup, winch handle. Well, Shimano did come out with the 200 series and the 300 series. This is a 200 series Tranx. This has power like you cannot believe. Maybe a little bit overkill for bass fishing, but I've been using it to throw chatterbaits, spinnerbaits. It is basically a winch. If I hooked a cinder block, I could crank this thing in without the drag slipping. A lot of power, great castability, and the price point is not gonna blow your socks away. It's not a $400 or $500 reel like you see in the stores. It's $199. That's retail, so it's not an expensive reel. I'm gonna go on a whim to say in 10 years, I'm still gonna have this reel, and my kids are gonna be using it. Little oversized paddle handles. Like I said, real sleek, fits in the hand, low profile, 200 series, all-purpose workhorse reel. So I got about a month or two into using this, so I don't have a full season, but I've been throwing chatterbaits with this, spinnerbaits, rattle traps, that sort of stuff. That Tranx in the 200 series from Shimano, I'm really excited about. And so far, so good. I've really enjoyed fishing that reel. So a lot of options out there to catch fish. I probably kind of beat a dead horse again, but I get excited about this stuff. What can I say? We've caught a lot of fish in that weed area. There's good green weeds starting to pop up. Clean weeds, that's important too. You're starting to see algae blooms all over the place. I've been staying away from that sort of stuff. The clean green weeds are important. Hard bottom is going to become more important as we get into the summer months here. I'm expecting summer patterns hopefully to kick off and we can start fishing deep and chase some fish. One cool item that I want to talk about, I try not to be product pushy, I'm sorry, but a friend of mine at work, family runs this business. It's pretty cool, I'm not going to lie. I don't fish live bait a ton, but when I do, especially when I fish worms in the summertime, it's tough because they get warm and gross. We've all seen that. Keeping them cool on the boat, you may take family or friends out and you don't want to put the worms inside your food cooler. This Fishing Buddy deal system is pretty darn neat. Small, compact, made of styrofoam, but inside this, you can see there's a container. And you may ask, okay, it's just a little soft side or a foam cooler. You take that out, you have a couple of those gel inserts, just like you would have in the freezer. You keep those cold, put them in there, throw this container back in the middle, put your night crawlers inside that thing. You can close the lid down, just like that, and it keeps them cool all day long. Small, neat, and compact, tuck it away in your boat. You don't even know it's there until you need it, and it keeps your night crawlers cool. It's called the Fishing Buddy, fishingbuddycooler.com. Check it out. I will take bait with kids, and they think it's fun. They can get their own worms. It's great. It'll house 2 containers of worms, a whole day of fishing in there, keeps them cool, and you're not throwing your tub of night crawlers in with your sodas and your snacks for a day of fishing. So check that out if you haven't. Pretty cool product. Otherwise, I'm going to get back out there chasing fish. I got another day on the water tomorrow. I'm going to go back out to Lake Minnetonka. Stumbled across kind of a fun pattern. I'm not sure if it's going to hold yet. I'll find out more tomorrow and later this week. Next week, hopefully I can share that with you and see if it's a good pattern for you to try. So otherwise, get out there, chase some fish, enjoy the weather. I think I saw 90 later this week. Like I said, summer patterns are knocking on our door. Catch some fish. Good luck. Be safe.